So welcome to our annual general meeting. I'm going to go through some things. So if you are not speaking, I'd ask you kindly to put yourself on mute, and that just is to stop the background noise. So thank you. You will have opportunity at the end of the session for any questions you'd like to ask. So we will take them at that point. We may need to mute you if you've been unable to mute yourself, but again, we will unmute you if you have any questions. It would be great to know who's attending the session today. So just as a sort of general introduction, if we could ask people to pop their name in the chat box, that would be fantastic. Now, I know that from different platforms, there's different ways to access your chat function. So if you could have a look at the bottom taskbar, it generally will come under, let me just have a look, it'll come under as a chat box, so it looks like a little speech bubble, or you'll go into it and it'll be through participants, I think, if I'm right, but if I'm wrong, Deb, please jump in and correct me there. We will have the Q&A session at the end of the agenda, but you can post any questions as we're talking into the chat, and the chat will be monitored by Lucy and Deborah, who's our staff members. Okay, and so as part of the event, ask people to fill it in the demographic form that we're collecting, that will be posted in the chat as well. And the demographic form just allows us to collect information to ensure that we're speaking to a cross-section of society in our wider work as well, and pick up any issues that are specific to groups or communities. So that's me for now, and I'll pass over to our chair, Liz.
Welcome everybody. As Claire said, my name's Liz Hancock, and I'm the chair of Healthwatch Warwickshire. So, once again, the previous year has been dominated by the impact of COVID-19 and our collective responses to it. This situation is, as you all know, unfortunately ongoing. COVID-19 has affected everyone, all communities, all of our public services, including the NHS and social care, the voluntary sector, and of course, Healthwatch. As you will see from our annual report, we've become used to working in different ways, working from home, meeting online, upgrading our website and extending our social media and other virtual outputs. In addition to the day job of responding to people struggling to cope in a very much changed world, we have carried on gathering the views of patients and the public using a mixture of new methods and old. We carried out a survey gathering over 1,000 responses of how COVID-19 was affecting the health and well-being of people across Warwickshire. This gave early indications of the impact of the pandemic to providers and commissioners. We collected 550 people's feedback on the proposed Health and Wellbeing Centre in Shipston. This work will inform the design and delivery of what local people need in their local area. Responding to the growing number of queries we were getting, we carried out a survey into NHS dental provision across Warwickshire. Our report has made a significant impact locally and has been presented at the Health and Wellbeing Board. It was also been escalated to Healthwatch England, and dentistry is now a national issue. Our volunteers made contact with over 45 care homes to hear about their experiences during the pandemic. We offered support and shared good practice across the sector. There's been a number of operational changes during the year, including the successful integration of a new staff member, Deborah Key, as our Insight and Communication Lead, in very difficult circumstances, as you can imagine. We also welcomed another new board member, Robin Verso, who's already making an impact in a number of ways. Since our annual report was published, things have continued to develop. We completed a carers project, working with carers to understand their health and wellbeing needs. Our report has been used to inform the carers strategy and the dementia strategy and has been widely praised by our partners. We conducted the Ellen Badger Community Beds Review on behalf of South Warwickshire NHS Foundation Trust, gathering over 500 responses from the public. This has led to a development timetable being published, and we remain part of the development process. I'll continue. Our emerging projects include finding out about the experiences of people with deafness and hearing impairment when trying to access services, supporting the development of long COVID peer support groups, finding out about people's experiences of using NHS 111, and much more. For example, we have recently been approached by Healthwatch England and NHS England to work on a project looking at carers' experience of the hospital discharge process. We are the only Healthwatch from the Midlands to be chosen for this project. At our recent strategy day with board, staff and volunteers, we looked in detail at the ICS, the Integrated Care System, and what it could mean for patients and the public. We also looked at our potential roles within it, and we are now in discussions with the Emerging Care Collaborative to see how we can work together. We also decided on 3 key areas of work: GP access, patient-public voice arrangements within the ICS, and services for people living with learning disabilities. We will be developing work programmes to take forward on each of these developing priorities, whilst remaining agile enough to respond to any new issues as and when they may emerge. Final reports of all of our projects can obviously be found on our website, or if you need a copy and a different form, then please just let us know. So you can see that during the year, our very small team has made a very large impact and accomplished an amazing amount of work, which really does help to make a difference to Warwickshire people. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Chris and his small team of staff, our wonderful team of volunteers who play such a vital role, and my fellow board members for everything they have done and achieved during the year. Thank you also to our partners from the NHS, from social care, the Care Quality Commission, place executives, voluntary sector, NHS England, Healthwatch England, and other local health watchers, in particular Healthwatch Coventry. At last year's AGM, I finished by hoping that 2021 would be an easier year for us all. And it's with some sadness that I extend the same wish to you all now for 2022 by saying best wishes to you all for safe and healthy 2022. And if we just keep everything crossed, maybe, just maybe we will achieve that. Thank you. I'm now going to pass on to Mike, who will be giving a very brief financial report for you all. And as Claire said, there is an opportunity for questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Oh, hi, everybody. Welcome to this, the boring part of the annual general meeting. I'm afraid it's an essential legal part that we actually describe our finances. So I've got a prepared speech, which is not particularly exciting, but very descriptive. To carry out our work, we're funded by Warwickshire County Council. Following our successful tender in 2018 for the contract, we were awarded a 3-year fixed sum contract at £217,000 each year, which runs until October this year, with options to extend for a further 2 years. The County Council have exercised the option to extend the contract, and it now runs to October 23. Some inflation funding we managed to wring out of them for year 4 at 2% has been provided by the County Council, and we will try and negotiate a further uplift for year 5 in due course. We expect the service to be retendered early in 2023 for another 3 years from 2023 on. In financial year 2021, we received £2,000 additional income from another source, and our total income was £219,000. We spent £228,613 and therefore overspent above our income from the County Council and others by £9,613, which is confirmed by our auditors in the audited final accounts. This was funded from our reserves as we planned to do in our budget for 2021. We will continue to use our reserves in 2021-22 to fund an additional engagement and outreach officer until March 22 at an annual cost of 19,200. This will then be reviewed as part of the budgeting process for 2022-23. I thank you for your indulgence, and that's it for the very boring financial bit of the AGM. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. So we're now at the point where if anybody has any questions they would like to ask, either raise a hand virtually or in person. We've got a number of people, or obviously pop your question into the chat box. Do we have?
We may be able to carry on. Apologies everyone for that. These things happen.
To be truthful, I would take it as a compliment that obviously the annual AGM of Healthwatch Warwickshire is enough of an opportunity for some very strange people to be amused by. So at least they wanted to join us.
And you don't mean the board members, Liz?
Not this time, John, no. So let's get back to the AGM. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask on anything that's presented?
Okay, if I can start off with a question from Heather Day at Lapworth PPG. As reserves have been used, what is left in reserves for future use?
And I will very quickly delegate that question to Mike.
It's an interesting question, actually. It's probably not a too interesting answer. We've got a fair bit in reserves, which will last a while, certainly to the end of the current contract. And we will be entering our negotiations with the County Council on the basis of the levels of staffing we currently provide and the levels of service we currently provide. So we will be looking to them to fund us properly from 2023 on. I hope you wish us luck in that endeavour, knowing the County Council, but let's see. I hope that was a reasonable answer.
Well, one of the reasons that we have, that's absolutely fine. Thank you, Mike. And in the past, one of the things we have used the reserves for, as Mike has indicated, one is for additional personnel for particular projects or areas where we see that we need that input. But equally, where there is a particular project that we need to fund that is in addition to our normal core expenditure.
Yes, if I can add our special projects and researches and surveys into getting to seldom heard parts of the population are usually things that we fund from our reserves, although we've been quite good of late in getting other people to help us to pay for those. So it's quite, we are trying pretty hard to get more cash into the organisation, and quite successfully too.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. And we have another question from Victoria, who says, have you done any engagement work with young people involving accessing health and social care services?
Chris, would you like to answer that one, please?
We haven't had, we used to do a fair bit of work with young people, particularly from the university, but we haven't done some for a while, but I think we are looking at it, aren't we, Claire? Looking at wherever Claire is, who's our head of operations.
Yeah, and we engage with young people as well when we were doing our most recently our carers project. So we're always looking at new ways of including younger people in our work as well, to make sure that we're hearing from that wider demographic and the challenges that they might face as a group of young people in accessing health and care in Warwickshire. So yeah, and any connections that people would like to make with us, we're more than happy to make those as well.
Because we have become increasingly aware of some issues around mental health services, in particular for young people, and some concerns that have been raised about those. So those are issues and areas that we're looking at working on. And if people are able to support us in that endeavour, that would be good.
Robin has also put in the chat that we also heard from young people during our recent diabetes survey, and the results of that survey are on our website in a particularly good report back, and the feedback that we've received from that is demonstrated in that survey. Anything else?
Currently don't have any more written messages, but if anyone would like to ask a verbal question, they can raise their hand.
And if you do have a question, but you're not a type of person who really wants to speak up at this moment, then please don't hesitate to contact us after the AGM. That's absolutely fine. And I just saw a question pop up then.
Okay, would you like me to read that for you, Liz?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Liz referred to the new integrated care system. Having seen the structure, it seems overly complex with various interlinked and overlapping committees. Does Healthwatch have any views on this?
Chris?
I mean, the important aspect from a Healthwatch perspective is that the patient views and patient voice and patient experiences are what is used to drive decision making within that framework. The framework does, I agree, appear to be fairly complex on the face of it. But what we've done is to break the integrated care system down into segments and to look at each segment. So we're looking at the system, we're looking at the place, we're looking at the primary care network, we're looking at the neighbourhood and saying, what are the arrangements for patients' views to be heard at this level? And I think we're beginning to make some sort of progress on that. I think the emergence of the new care collaboratives will actually make the system appear even more complex on the face of it, but I think might actually offer us a bit of a way through some of the complexity, at least as far as patients are concerned.
And I mean, on a personal sort of level, I'm also the Chief Executive of the Mary Ann Evans Hospice. And for us, the fact that the integrated care system comes down to that place level enables the right care to be developed in those different places. And for me, that can only be an advantage for local people who are living in with those different places.
Great. We actually
Anything
have,
else?
yes, we have Making Space with a hand up. Making Space.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, I've been doing a bit of work recently with individuals with, not particularly, the work wasn't about eating disorders, but they did have, some of the individuals did express that they do have eating disorders and there's no real services available to them. I was just wondering, has Healthwatch looked into that at all? Or?
Chris?
That is an issue that we raised with Mel Coombs, who is the Chief Executive of TWPT, the Mental Health Trust.
Yeah.
And we will continue to make those representations because precisely that sort of issue came through on our phone lines a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Raise it with them. And I think there are a number of areas where there are apparent service gaps, and certainly eating disorders appears to be one of them. And I think greater clarity from the Partnership Trust about how they're approaching these would be helpful to everyone, including patients.
Yeah, another bit of feedback I got was that people are scared to go to NHS services for eating disorder as well, because they don't know what sort of treatment they're going to get and if they'll be sectioned or forced into doing stuff they don't want to do. So it'd be nice to have something in the middle where they could just get help.
Yes, and that issue about people feeling concerned about approaching NHS services is one we've heard a number of times, and there are a whole complex range of reasons why that might happen.
Yeah.
But it's really important that the services that are provided seem to be accessible and seem to be receptive and seem to be taking the patient view seriously and really listening to what people are saying. And that's the message we'll keep banging home, and maybe we could do some work together to make sure that that message gets gets rammed home again and again and again. It needs to be baked into the way systems work, and it needs to be baked into the way services work.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you.
I think it's also important that in order to try and help alleviate people's fear about attending, in particular acute services, that there is more information about what you can or should expect when you attend an appointment, even if it's not to the details of that individual case. But I think there's a lot more work that could be done on trying to help alleviate people's fears and concerns.
It is fair to say that a lot of services are under a huge amount of stress at the moment. That is fair to say, but that does not mean that they shouldn't be receptive to the needs of the people who are coming to them. It's really important that they get that message out there.
Any other questions?
Can't see anything at the moment, Liz.
That's fine. Therefore, if people are happy, I will actually bring this AGM to an end. As I said, if you do have a question or something pops into your mind later on that you wish you had asked, then please contact us either via the telephone lines, email, or obviously through the website. We're more than happy to actually ask any questions. If we don't have the answer, we can normally find someone else who will have that answer. Thank you very much for attending. I really appreciate it. And hopefully next year we may be able to actually meet in person again. And just best wishes to you all. And thank you for the support that you all offer Healthwatch Warwickshire. We really do appreciate it.